I don't believe in emotional intelligence. I think it's useful, but I'm more interested in emotional fitness.
Doing what you are afraid of is your path to success.
There's two kind of mindsets.
Rise and shine, it's Entspresso time.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You have Michael Jordan level talent at something. So let's start your day off right together. Grab your coffee and sip on today's message from Tony Robbins. Also, if you want to have more confidence, check out my 254 series. They're free. The link to join are in the description below.
You got to separate the vehicle from the outcome. What is it that's going to truly fulfill you? What is it that's going to give you that extraordinary life? The fact that human beings, our strongest drive is the need to stay consistent with how we define ourselves. What's going to fulfill you is different than the other person next to you. You're not going to learn that from anybody else. And you got to find it, because success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Breakdowns, it's certainly not something I experience, but it's not because I'm so talented or so brilliant or so fearless. It's just, you're like an athlete. You're an athlete.
Yeah.
You're in shape,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to have a reaction in your body like somebody who doesn't take care of themselves.
Right.
So, I don't believe in emotional intelligence. I think it's useful, but I'm more interested in emotional fitness, because intelligence is a capability. Fitness is a state of readiness.
Interesting.
If you are fit, you can take that demand right now and you can deal with it. You can deal with that physical stress, that emotional stress. Same thing's true with psychological fitness, emotional fitness, right? So I'm pretty fit, and part of that is not because I'm so smart. Part of it is that I've taught this for decades.
Yeah.
I remember I had a woman who came to one of my seminars in her, I don't know, early 80s probably, and she would run in this room, 10,000 people. I think it was, she went to a couple of 10,000 person events, and she would get in this front row and fight her way through there. And she'd jump and go for it. And at one break, she came up to me, I was signing a book for her, and she says, she goes, Mr. Robbins, I've seen you at like 8 of these. She goes, I've seen you like when you're really, I know, I can hear your voice, you're hurting or you haven't slept. And she goes, you always seem to be so up all the time. How come you're so up? And I said, well, part of it is I attend all these seminars.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching it. So there's a fitness to that. But there's also, I've buried 3 fathers and 1 mother, and that affects your life. I've had a physician look me in the eye and say you have a tumor in your brain.
Wow.
And so I've had those moments that when you've had extreme stress and you push your way through it, you build psychological muscle. Yeah. It's like it takes a lot to knock me off. In the early days, we didn't have $50,000 to keep the doors open. How do we do it? Then I had, graduated to $5 million. Then I graduated to a partner of mine who kind of didn't do things well, and I ended up owning $100 million because I had to take on his debts. $100 million. But when you do all that stuff, now my companies do $5 billion, a year. So you keep expanding what I would call really the circle of the threshold of your influence.
Sure.
Everybody has a threshold of control, and if you get beyond it, you kind of freak out. So it takes a little bit more. I can't.
So you don't really have breakdowns.
I don't have a breakdown. Do I get pissed off or get frustrated or tired? Yeah, but a breakdown, honestly, no.
Doing what you are afraid of is your path to success. Every time you take on something new that scares you, that pushes your comfort zone, that requires you to stretch, on the other side of that scary thing is the new you who is now capable of more. Most people, they shrink from scary things because they're scary. But if you want to win, if you want to hit your ambitious goals, then you have to teach yourself that you do scary things. So I recently came back from 2 pretty significant speaking gigs in my career as I'm building up and speaking on bigger stages. The first was when I was speaking at Brendan Burchard's event, and it's his Growth.com event. And Brendan, one of the greatest speakers in the world, invited me to come and talk to his group of a couple thousand people. And then I went to Ed Milet's event just recently in Whistler. And this is a smaller group, 100 so people, but they pay $60,000 a year to be a part of his program. And so they're coming to learn from the best. He sandwiched me between David Goggins and Peyton Manning. So it's David Goggins, and then me, and then Peyton Manning. That was the lineup. And so when I was backstage at the Brendan event, I remember moments before going on stage, I was the most scared that I'd been in a long time. The most nervous, the most anxious. I was afraid of disappointing people. My biggest fear is letting people down. My biggest fear is that I'm going to let Brendan down, and Dean Graziosi, who they both brought me there. And I was just going to suck on stage. That was my biggest fear. And so I had a mini panic attack backstage. 5 minutes before going up, I had this mini panic attack. And and I'm forgetting what I'm going to say. I imagine myself going on stage and just blanking out. And I tell myself, I'm Evan Carmichael. I do difficult things. I love difficult things. If I don't do difficult things, I'm never going to accomplish great things. So I have to do difficult things. I love it. I thrive on difficult things. And then I remembered what I was going to say. And then I went out and I did my thing. And now when I went to Ed's event, I wasn't as nervous. I wasn't as afraid. I was still scared. I was still afraid of letting down Ed Milet, letting down Andy Frisella, who they both brought me there, being between David Goggins and Peyton Manning and just being outshone. Everybody knows them. They may not know me. All of it, all of the fears and doubts, but less than what I had at Brendan's event. Not because it wasn't as big a deal, but because I had just done it. Because speaking on stage to a couple thousand people at Brendan's event and having that panic attack and getting through it changed who I was, made me stronger, made me more capable of doing the next thing. And the next thing was Ed's thing. And so if I hadn't gone to Brendan's, I would be terrified going to Ed's thing. So every time you take on these difficult challenges, you might have the panic attack. You might have the anxiety inside you. You might have that little voice to say, you can't do it. What if you fail? What if you disappoint people? What if you lose respect? What if it doesn't work out? But you know what's worse? You know what's worse than going up and failing? Not trying. Not doing it. Finding some reason, finding some excuse to say you're sick, you're busy, you can't make it. But in the back of your head, you know you were just afraid. And the last thing you want to do is teach yourself that when you are afraid, that when you have an opportunity in front of you and you're afraid to do it, that you say no. You don't want to teach yourself that. You teach yourself the opposite. That when you're afraid, that when there's something in front of you that you want to do, but you're scared, you're anxious, you're worried about letting people down, that you jump in and you say, I'm all in because I do scary things. So how do you do it? I'm going to give you a 3-step process I think will help. Step number 1 is ask yourself, if you could not fail. If you could not fail, what would you do? If you could not fail, what would you do? What would you do? Just blue sky it. You know you're not going to fail. What would you do? For me, I'd be speaking on bigger stages. I'd be speaking more often, be speaking on bigger stages. And that's now become, even asking that question sets into motion action, right? Now my goal is to speak on 2 stages a month. And so traveling to speak on 2 different stages every month and putting that plan into action for the next 6 to 12 months, right? If you knew that you could not fail, what would you do? Eliminate the risk of failure, right? Eliminate, because that's how we'll default back to. Like, oh, I'd love to do that, but right? But I might fail, but this is gonna happen. Then you get back into negative small thinking mode. Just for 2 minutes, forget about that stuff. For 2 minutes, let yourself dream again. And imagine, if you could not fail, what would you do? Step number 2, expect to fail. Expect to fail. Expect to suck, especially if it's your first time. If it's your first time speaking on stage, for example, you're not going to be great. You're not going to be Les Brown. You're not going to be Tony Robbins. You're not going to be Brendan Burchard. You're not going to be great. It's your first time. Your first video, you're not going to be great. It's why I kept my first video up on my channel too. You can go back and watch it. The first time you do it, you're not going to be great. This is one of the biggest fallacies in human thinking, is we expect to be great the first time we do something, and if we're not great, we don't do it anymore. As kids, we learn that when we fail, we get up and we try again. As adults, though, we're so terrified of failing that we don't try most things. And then we have this constant thought in our mind that we know we're capable of more, but we're too afraid to go off and start. And so expect to fail. Step 1 is know that you're not going to fail. Great. That gives you the freedom to dream, to do the thing that you actually want to do and not get in your own way anymore with your thinking. But step 2 is then you expect to fail. Micro, not macro, right? If you keep going, if you keep doing it, you keep making videos, you keep doing your speeches, you keep reaching out, you're going to win. But the first time, expect to fail. Reduce the expectation that your first time of anything has to be amazing. And then step 3 is tie your self-worth to the effort. So many people tie their self-worth to the result instead of the effort, right? Did I give a good result? Did I give a good speech? Did I give a good video? Did I get a result for my customer, right? Did it work? Did I win that race? Did I XYZ, right? You're tying your self-worth to the result. What you want to do is tie it to the effort. So that even if you go up on stage and suck, you tell yourself, I'm the best. I did it. When I look back at my Brendan video, at his event, I could have done better. I can always do better. I look at it, and even though people loved it and standing ovation at the end, and Brendan was freaking out and he loved it, I look at it and see all the holes, all the places where I could have been stronger, could have had more energy, could have been better. And if I was doing that speech in a smaller group, it would have been better. If I was doing that speech just to a camera with nobody in the room, it would have been way better. Because I would have been able to practice it over and over and over again until it was perfect. But I'm really proud of the effort. I was 5 minutes ago, before going on stage, freaking out, having an anxiety attack, forgetting everything I was gonna say in front of this massive audience. And I went out and I did it. And so I'm proud of my effort. That's what I want for you too. You have some big ambition. You let go of the fear of failing. You then expect to fail. You expect to suck at the beginning, and you tie your self-worth and you pat yourself on the back, even if you failed, even if you stumbled, even if it sucked. And you say, I did it. I tried my best. Because every day you woke up and you tried your best, I promise you, you're gonna get amazing results. Now I have a really special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, question of the day, I wanna know, what would you do if you could not fail? Pick one thing, one big thing. If you knew you weren't gonna fail, what would you do? Let me know, put it in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, I wanna celebrate you. Give me a hashtag believe down below as well.
So I just finished the Leadville 100-mile race. Tough race, went through a lot of ups and downs. There's two kind of mindsets. You have under load, under stress. One mindset's a brittle mindset. And that brittle mindset gives you all these ways out. Oh, I don't need to finish the race. I can come back next year. I'm gonna drop out because things aren't going right. You also have a Sappers mindset. The Sappers mindset is this. Like in a house, you get these load-bearing walls. Some people aren't really educated in load-bearing walls. Doing remodeling to the house, they tear the load-bearing wall down, the house crumbles. That's a brittle mind. The Sappers mindset, when things are going bad, guess what they do? Quitting's out of the question. All they think about is how the am I gonna get through this? There's no quitting, it's just getting through and thriving, not surviving.
If you want Tony Robbins' view on how to get people who can help you grow, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Anticipation is power. If you ever play a video game against a child, it's pretty disastrous.